Stop the cap.
I am making this video to respond, and I'm way behind in videos, as always, just because, I don't know, I don't get around to uploading them. But I'm responding to I'll use Tariq's term, a suspected white supremacist in my comment section that wants to come with these classic tired conservative talking points that, it's like I've already pointed out that those conservative talking points that were classically used against black people are now being used by the boomers against their grandchildren and their children. As you can see, capitalism run amok. Nobody can afford anything, can't afford a house. They're bitching about, young people, why aren't you having kids? Because they can't afford it. Right. And then thinking that the appropriate response is just simply, scream personal responsibility on steroids. My issue with the personal responsibility argument is, one, it's a problem when it's unchecked. And then the second thing is that's a two-way street. Personal responsibility, actions have consequences. White people have a really bad habit of literally thinking like they're the only hardworking people in the world, right? Because the system, it's like they believe that they're awesome, but they don't see white supremacy and what essentially is white affirmative action for what it is. The New Deal was white affirmative action. The Homestead Act was white affirmative action. The what was it called? The Federal Housing Act, and the way that black people were redlined out of purchasing those homes was white affirmative action. That allowed them to build wealth, put equity in the home. Same thing the boomers, right, are benefiting from right now. Equity in the home, can take out, business loans against the home, use the home as collateral, right? Pass the wealth on to children, right? Which creates, a wealth gap, right? If you can see it in the white community, if you can see it with white boomers, why can't you see it across racial lines? Why is it that, you just make these arguments like, black people just have a pathology and that's all there is to it, right? When you got black people coming out of slavery with nothing but their clothes on their back, right? They tried to enact not reparations, but, Reconstruction, 40 acres and a mule, right? That didn't happen, right? White people immediately came in there and shot all that down, right? Because, the powers that be, right? The white Southerners, right, they had already bought into the whole concept of white supremacy. Again, talking about what I said about the how white supremacy was a fabrication, and it was created in the 15th century in order to facilitate, poor whites that previously were serfs, to go to America, freaking eradicate the indigenous people, and then bring slaves from Africa and then get them to work the land, so that the black Africans became the serfs, and then the white people became this intermediary class. Which, like, the weird thing is, like I said, if I'm a white man in 1850 and I'm looking for a job, right, slaves undermine your wages. Slaves, as a matter of fact, undermine your wages worse than the flooding in of immigrants, right? Like Mexicans coming across the border that white people also bitch about, despite the fact that they don't want to do that type of work, because that type of work doesn't pay, and it's backbreaking work. But I'm saying that black people didn't get any of what they were supposed to get after slavery, which is why the conversation about reparations for slavery continues. And again, I don't even have to go back to slavery. I can just talk about what happened in the 20th century. The redlining, blockbusting, Jim Crow, eminent domain, urban renewal, convict leasing, debt peonage, COINTELPRO, the assassination of black leaders, the purging of black communities, the dumping of drugs in the black community via the CIA, Iran-Contras, the denial of access to the Homestead Act, denial of Social Security for the first 20 years, that it existed, right? And then job discrimination, marginalization, right? The fact that we couldn't go to the same schools and get the same education, hence why there was Brown versus Board of Education in the first place, right? So America, all the way up until 1965, America was an apartheid system. So all that period of time, black people weren't able to benefit, build wealth, right? So, you act like, and I already talked about this. I accuse white people of doing this all the time. White people literally want to start American history in 1985. I don't know why 1985 is the magical year. You know what I mean? But they really want to start America in 1985 and just claim that black people just decided to be thugs and criminals in 1985. Completely ignoring the devastation of white supremacy to the black community. So anyway, let's address the first part, the personal responsibility, it to death. The problem with the personal responsibility argument, the first part that I'm addressing, is the fact that it only works if there's certain things in place. Right? If there's actually an avenue to get to, whatever we want to consider success, whether that's purchasing a home, whether that's, being able to provide some sort of stability, right? All that's directly tied to, life and reproduction, right? If you're not financially viable as a man, you can't lay down a foundation. Women have no incentive to get with you and procreate with you. So that's directly tied to life, which is why it's important. But if the avenues aren't there, as I've always talked about, if people have a social contract to, the government, right, or the society in which they live, then the government and the society have a social contract to the people, to the individuals. Okay. And when that social contract is broken, you don't just get to sit there and say, personal responsibility. The reason why personal responsibility is thrown around the way that it is because people don't want the solutions to actually have to cost them. The people who are, exploiting the system, exploiting people, benefiting, right? They want you to believe in the religion of personal responsibility. They want you to buy into those concepts that it's all on you and that's all that there is to it. And you're not recognizing, how America was set up for, the wealthy, how it was set up for corporations, right? That's how the country was set up. I mean, even when you look at the taxes, where are all the tax benefits? The tax benefits are for the people, not for the workers. The tax benefits are for the people that own businesses, the people who have LLCs and corporations and S corps. That's where the tax benefits are. That's where you can ride stuff off. That's why people are walking around. What is it called? I think it's like 179 tax exemption. Is it 179? I think it's 179. I could be wrong about that, but that's the one with where if you buy a vehicle and it's over 6,000 pounds, you can basically write it off, on your taxes as long as you're using it 50% of the time for 50% of the time for work, right? That's supposed to be for, trucks and like, I don't know, like work trucks and stuff like that, right? Not F-150s, F-350s, right? Like, let's say you had a landscaping business. That's what that shit is supposed to be for. It's not supposed to be for you riding around in your G-Wagon. It's not supposed to be for you riding around in your Suburban extra large. That's not what it's supposed to be for. Right? It's supposed to be for the actual work truck. That's where the tax write-off was. But see, they write it in such a way that people that are, in the owning class, they can benefit from that. And so the whole concept is to get you to believe and buy into this notion that, everything is all on you, and that the government, the society, the infrastructure, how the economic opportunities are set up, has nothing to do with that aspect, but has everything to do, with you. And the problem that you see now is once you remove everything, you remove the incentives, you remove the rewards, and then people are still talking about, personal responsibility, and there's literally nothing there. The social contract has been broken. That's when you begin to see things fall apart. In other words, what I'm saying is, and this goes into the second part, that quote unquote personal responsibility, that works both ways. Society has a quote unquote its own, societal responsibility to the people. And when you go in there and that aspect is broken, to sit there and then just reduce it down and leave it to just personal responsibility, it's essentially a mind trap. It's like a psyop, right? To get you to blame yourself for a situation that is far beyond your control, completely beyond your control. It's like all this stuff that we see with, Israel and weapons going over there and whatnot. That's the military-industrial complex. No individual American can do anything to stop that, right? Nobody can do anything. It's bigger than the individual. And so when I'm saying all that, I'm prefacing all of this to point out, like, when people criticize, the black community, and they talk about, the black community, they're fucked up and they're criminals and niggas do this and niggas do that, and why are they this way? Why are they that way? Because again, white people like to view things from 1985 and onward. They don't want to act. They want to act like the past has no implication, on today. And just like the photos that I have in the background, this is what white supremacy destroyed. Or I should say, to this person I'm responding to, this is what your people destroyed. In other words, if we want to talk about there's actions have consequences. Well, when you go in and you undermine a group of people, right? When you marginalize a group of people, right? When you destroy what they've built so that they can't pass it on to their children, why are you surprised? It's no different than the boomers sitting there. It's like you've set the whole system up to benefit old people. Young people can't get a start, and then you're actually surprised that the young people aren't having kids? Same logic applies. White supremacy did everything in its power to destroy the black community and undermine the black community. Burn down many black communities, Elaine, Wilmington, North Carolina, Rosewood, Slocum, Texas, right? All these communities burning down to the ground. Tulsa, burning down to the ground, right? There's consequences to that. And what you see today from black people that you don't like is the manifestation of that. Why are you surprised? Right? If actions have consequences, then again, what the system of white supremacy did with the backing and the blessing of the federal government has consequences. So when you got Ray Ray and Pookie running up in your face, pistol whipping your ass or stealing your car or home invading you, right? Or committing crimes, right? Don't just sit there and act like it just popped up out of nowhere. It's just personal responsibility. No, that started from what was done in the past. But see, you don't want to make that connection. You want to just reduce it down to, we all start on the same playing field. Everything is equal. All the wealth is equal. It's like Monopoly. Everybody starts the Monopoly game with the same amount of money when the Monopoly game starts. We didn't get that money. We didn't get to start the Monopoly game. When we got into the Monopoly game, it was, 100 years later. 1965. Or actually more than that, because you can start with the conception of this the conception of this country, right? In 1776, technically speaking, I could go probably before that, right? When it was a colony, right? Go back to probably 1609 or something like that, right? White people, they're building, they're making money. Black people ain't in the game. Then you get to that's the 1600s. Then you get to the 1700s. Black people still not in the game. They're just chattel labor. They're slaves. Then you get to the 1800s. White people still making money, still generating wealth. Black people, are still chattel labor. Then you get to 1865. Black people are freed, right? Reconstruction was supposed to do something for black people, because it's like, okay, we done freed these people. We can't just let them just walk around with nothing. They got to be a part of the economic system. And then all they did was create vagrancy laws and sharecropping and just ways to, still function and have slavery, but simply by another name. And then that went on for 100 years, right? Until 1965. And then even after 1965 happened, right? Like, what are you going to tell me? That in 1966 there was no racism? Are you going to tell me in 1970 racism was over? You're going to tell me in 1981 racism was over? Like, when did racism and black people being discriminated against, when did it end to the point that it would satisfy the idea that America's not racist and doesn't continue to be? Right? Even the black people who have succeeded to be able to get themselves, to be a part of the American dream, we see shit still going on, like black people's houses being underappraised because the appraiser walks in and sees a bunch of black pictures on the wall, or sees a black family, and suddenly $100,000 literally just comes off of the price of the house. And then the person goes and then takes all the pictures off the wall, gets a white neighbor to sell the house, and then all of a sudden $100,000 is added to the price of the house. That is theft. You see? So, then you got the whole, JP Morgan, Chase, and, Merrill Lynch getting caught, Wells Fargo getting caught. Go ahead, pull it up on Google. The lawsuits. Because they got caught, again, everything's there, everything's qualified, and they still screwing black people over, giving black people higher interest rates, right? Or denying black people loans that they clearly qualified for. You see? How long do you think you can do shit like that, and somehow magically you think that black people are just supposed to overcome and be on the same exact level that white people are on, right? Or the more well-to-do white people, because since that ends up being the standard. You don't want black people on the same level. And if black people aren't on the same level, then you're not going to see the same outcomes. You guys want to sit there and you want to bring up, it's because of the culture. Yeah, a culture due to prolonged exposure to poverty as a result of the system of white supremacy. Say the full sentence. Say it completely. I mean the audacity to sit there and think, these people should act and think and behave just like us, but we're going to deny them access to capital. We're going to deny them access to opportunities because we really don't want them around us. And then we're going to pathologize them, right? We're going to undermine them. We're going to flood their community with drugs, right? We're going to marginalize them, reduce them literally down to nothing. And then the pathologies that do manifest, we're going to say that they manifested out of the ether, not because of what we did, right? It's like, let's say you had a lawn and I came over your house every day and I started just throwing weed seeds all over the place, like literal weeds, right? And then you got all these weeds growing up, dandelions and everything else growing up out of your lawn, right? And I know I'm the neighbor. I live across the street and we're having a lawn contest, right? That my lawn is more prestige than yours, but I'm literally blowing dandelion seeds all over your lawn. And I do that all the way up until, which neighborhood has the best lawn day. The neighborhood, home association has a contest. And then I sit there and I go, see, look, he's got dandelions all over his yard. Clearly, I'm better, right? That's literally what white people do. And then not only that, it's like, and then you have the audacity to be surprised. It's like, I remember there was a comedian, he told a joke and it was hilarious. And he was talking about how, black people will rob you and then have the audacity to sit there. They'll be like, yeah, man, I heard you got robbed, and they're the ones that did it. Just sit there and, like what was that TV show where the guy was talking to his neighbor over the fence? You know what I mean? That type of situation. Black guy's got his elbow on top of the fence like, yeah, man, what happened? Nah, really? They came in through the back door? Man, they took your flat screen television? Damn, man, that's fucked up, right? And they're the ones that did it, right? You moved into the hood or some shit like that. That's white people. White people do shit like that. You know what I mean? It's like, it's one thing you want to fuck somebody up. You know what I mean? And you're being evil and you're doing evil shit. Like, I'm saying, why don't you just own that? Like, just own it, right? But nah, they don't own it. What's funny is, like, white men only seem to understand what I'm talking about if I apply it to women. Like, if I apply it to, like, females and shit. Like the type of stuff that women do, the double speak that women do, the contradictions that women do, right? They'll sit there and like argue about, oh, we want to make the same amount of money as a man because, girl power, feminism. Then when you make women make the same amount of money as men, then they're bitching that they want to be able to date up or something like that. Like, that's what it feels like dealing with white folks. You know what I mean? You all do shit, you undermine the black community, and then you complain about the outcome like you didn't do anything. Like, you throw rocks and then hide your hands. Oh, well, we didn't do anything. Then you bitch about the Band-Aid. Like, you're the person that literally, stabbed the person in the gut. Now they got this hemorrhaging wound. They're bleeding all over the place, right? And then you go and run into the kitchen and come back with literal Band-Aids. Not a towel, not any gauze, like, even if it was an injury on the limb, not even a tourniquet. You don't come back with shit but a pack of Band-Aids, and then you're bitching about the fact that there's blood on your floor. You're bitching about the fact that you actually had to spend your hard-earned money, to get the Band-Aids. But yet you're the one that caused the injury in the first place. But yet you're bitching about, what you have to now deal with. And it's like what I said about Gremlins. You know what I mean? To me, it's like Gizmo. Gizmo is black people. Gizmo is literally African Americans, right? Don't feed Gizmo. Don't fuck with Gizmo. But we're going to say it's like the anti-Gizmo, the opposite, right? You got to feed Gizmo. You got to provide, right? The basics for Gizmo so that Gizmo can flourish and that Gizmo can contribute to the American society. You don't undermine Gizmo. But see, what white people did is they undermined Gizmo. And as we know in the movie Gremlins, what happens when Gizmo gets the water and you feed Gizmo, right? He gets a little eggs on his back and then he creates gremlins. Gremlins are niggas. And so when you all complain about the niggas and you complain about the blacks and you complain about 1350 and all this other bullshit, understand that you did that. You did that. That's not just something that just appeared out of the void. Because again, we can pull up the black and white photos of black people doing for self, black people engaging in personal responsibility. You white people, you crashed out and then burnt down these communities. And now you're complaining about black people on welfare, black people on WIC, black people on Section 8. Right? You're complaining about black people being freeloaders, right? You're complaining about black people committing crimes. Well, what would the black community look like had you left it the fuck alone, right? Had Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greenwood never been burnt down, right? Had Wilmington, North Carolina never been destroyed and the black people never been run out, had the black people not been run out of Corbin, Kentucky, right? Or Elaine, Arkansas, or Slocum, Texas, right? Or Springfield, Illinois, Omaha, Nebraska, right? What would the black communities in America look like if every time black people put something together, you come through and fuck it up? And it's like, and you all, I don't know what it is. Like, you run around and you talk about we're white and we're just awesome and we did this and we did that and we're just awesome, right? But every time black people put anything together, you all get butthurt and you're all in your feelings and there's white fragility all over the fucking place and you're just, these black people, like, you can't stand black people doing better than you. You're like the chick that's literally, like, if this was like one of those 1980s like high school movies, you're the hot chick in the movie. Everybody fucking wants you. We're the nerdy girl in the fucking library. And you know how the movies in the 80s were, right? All the nerdy girl had to do is take off her glasses and suddenly she was a bad bitch. Like, just a little bit of lipstick, take off the glasses, and she's a bad bitch. That's the black community. And despite the fact that everybody swoons over you all the time, you got the jock, you're the prettiest girl in the school, you're prom queen, all that shit, you can't stand to see the black community get attention for 5 minutes. For 5 minutes. And then literally the whole movie, you spend the entire rest of the movie trying to sabotage black people. You know what I mean? You're like putting fucking, glue in the bitch's hairspray. You know what I mean? You're like doing, all that Mean Girl shit. All that, let's see how Veronica likes this. And then you and your evil, like, twin sisters, you're like, right? You're just giggling and shit. Like, that's y'all. That's y'all. Right? And then there's that terrible scene in the movie where, all your master plans, come to fruition. And we as the high school nerdy girl that got pretty for a day, you know what I mean? All of your master plan comes together and we get embarrassed at the prom and we go running out of the fucking prom, crying and shit. Right? That's us. Right? But it's like every other day you're the pretty girl, right? Right? And y'all have the audacity to sit there and run around and talk about, meritocracy this, meritocracy that. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. As the Asians found out with their whole, we need to get rid of affirmative action, and then they find out that the people that have the connections are the ones that are still getting into the damn schools over them. And black people sitting there looking at it like, we tried to tell you, but you didn't want to listen to us. But that's y'all. Like, it's just, like, the whole thing is just nuts to me. Like, it's nuts just how, like, again, I like overt white supremacy. It's like what Trevor Noah said. Like, I like white supremacy that's in your face, they're telling you what they're doing and everything, right? Because then, especially, we can get black people to be more on code if it was that overt. The best tool of white supremacy is the denial of white supremacy's existence. That's the best tool of white supremacy. To do things in a subtle way that makes it look like, this didn't happen for you, or you didn't get the job or whatever because you weren't successful at this. You didn't have the scores. You didn't have the grades or some shit like that, right? When it's really because you're black. Just point blank, period. We're not going to allow you to succeed. I'm like, okay, fine. Don't let him. Don't, I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of white guys that, like, in the early 90s, right? They made sure that no black man got through the door. And they're fucking over there high-fiving each other. It's 1994. And they're like, yeah, get these niggas out of here. Yeah. They're high-fiving each other. Right? And as a result of that black man not getting that job, right, he goes home, Keisha's like, oh, nigga, you a dusty. He rolls out because he just sick of being emasculated, right? Then his son grows up with a single mom, and then his mom can't control him at 14, 15. He goes out there, he joins the gang and shit like that, and then now he's in the streets, right? And now he's, doing gang shit and everything. Hey, man, you see that white girl in that car over there, man? Let's go steal that car. She got a drop top Mustang. He goes over there, fucking steals the car. The white bitch fights back. He shoots the white bitch. Now she's dead. And that is the daughter of the same white dudes that were high-fiving each other, when it came to discriminating against the black dad that didn't get the job. That's how this world works. And then, but see, nobody will really see it. It won't be like the movie Crash. Nobody will get to see the big picture. They'll just sit there and they'll be like, oh, see these niggers, they commit crime. See, that's why we didn't give the black guy the job, because that's what these niggas do. Like trying to act like the son that is the byproduct of the dad not getting the job are the same fucking person. They try to act like they're one and the same. And I'm like, motherfucker, like this is the consequence of what you did, right? Actions have consequences, right? And so when people throw around the personal responsibility and consequences, the personal responsibility and consequences have actions, and what I'm saying about things, it's a two-way street, like you got to recognize the fact that, these things that were done affect today, period. But, if you want to sit there and you want to be in denial mode and you want to, it has no impact on it. Okay. Well, then you not being able to afford a house as a millennial or a zillennial has nothing to do with what the boomers did to the markets. That has nothing to do with that, right? I mean, it's hilarious watching like boomers. They'll bitch. They'll be like, "That's what you voted for," right? They'll be in the comment section and they'll be like, "That's what y'all get, cause that's what y'all voted for. Y'all voted for the Democrats." And it's like what year are we talking about? Like I had a comment of some guy. He was talking, we were talking about jobs, and I was listening, like going through the whole thing about what the boomers did. He was like, "That's what y'all voted for." I'm like, who voted for that? Who voted? Because we were talking about NAFTA, and it was like, I wasn't even fucking old enough to fucking vote for NAFTA when NAFTA was passed. What are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, so you get people that want to sit there and they want to make everything a conservative or Republican, Democrat or liberal thing. And I'm like, the millennials and the zillennials that you're talking about when a lot of this shit took place, like when the unions were busted up underneath Reagan, we weren't even old enough to vote. The zillennials weren't even fucking born yet. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like they just throw shit up there and act like, no, actually you were the one that was old enough to vote for that shit. So when they're like, oh, that's what you voted for, again, the policies that were voted on, 35, 40 years ago, right? They have an impact on today. Right? Because, what the conservatives have done, is very slow. We want small government, incremental over time, right? Death by 1,000 paper cuts, right? How do you eat an elephant in small pieces, right? They've just been chipping away, at the working class, right? Working class is shrinking. Working class hasn't gotten better. The working class doesn't have more wealth. The working class has less. Well, where's all this trickle-down economics that they were talking about? If you give tax breaks to the wealthy, we'll be able to take that money and reinvest it in the company and make more jobs. All they did was take the money and reinvest it in their own wallets. We can see the consequences of that, right? We can see the effects of it now that are actually measurable, right? We can see that, right? So at what point do you recognize that the actions of the past have an impact on the actions of today, right? And that's across the board, Right? You can't like it's when people like, you'll have white people, they'll say, oh, well, and it was funny is you all can see it like when it comes to like certain things that you want to point to, but then other things you don't want to point to. Like you'll hear white conservatives, they'll be like, well, see, the black family got destroyed when it came to the welfare state. That's what destroyed the black family. Okay, the welfare state was started in the 1970s. Right? You want to say, okay, so what happened in 1970 has a negative impact on what we see today with single mothered homes, right? That's your argument. Okay, well, why don't you apply that logic to any of the other things that happened back then? Like the redlining, like black men being put on the front lines in fucking Vietnam, right? Like deindustrialization, right? Like, the dumping of drugs in the black community by, the Iran-Contras, right? Well, I mean, there's more than one thing that happened. And the thing is like, you love saying, oh, it's the welfare state, right? Because you blame that on Democrats and you want to turn everything into a Republican, Democrat, sort of argument, even when it has nothing to do with that, right? It's class warfare. And then not only that, you'll claim yourself to be a working class white man, and Republicans are all about small government, so that they don't have any regulations, so that they can do whatever they want to do, right? And again, all the evidence is we have what, 50 years of data, right? Since deindustrialization started back in the 1970s, we have like 50 years of data, right? Wait, more than that, more than 50 years of data, 70 years of data. Right? We have all this. No, wait. What am I saying? 70 years. Whatever. We have. Well, let me see this. Damn, that's 54 years of data. We have 54 years of data, right? So, what was I going to say about having 54 years of data? So we know we can look at what was done and how it has impacted things over time. We can see that, right? Another thing that you all, will love to, point at. You'll love to point out feminism. Oh, why are marriage rates going down? Oh, it's because of feminism. That's why. It's because of these feminist bitches. Where, I mean, the dynamics have changed, yes, because of that. But again, it also goes back to young men not being gainfully employed, right? Which goes into the deindustrialization and taking those jobs and taking them overseas to pay those people next to nothing. You see? I mean, I don't know what you don't get about this, right? I mean, granted, the cost of living is cheaper, over in these other places, but as you can see, the whole concept was to cut cost. Right? It's not like they went overseas and they were like, no, we got to pay these guys a prevailing wage so that they can support their families. No. And they most certainly didn't care about the American families when they took those jobs and they left. Anybody with a basic thinking brain can see that if you take jobs and economic opportunities out of one location and you move it to another location, that the people that can't then move to that other location, they're out of a job. And that's going to affect everything, right? Because bottom line, you can't have a patriarchy if you don't have gainfully employed men. I don't care how much you want to subscribe to the sweet twinkle of white Jesus and whether you got, the buttery goodness of the Lord in your bosom. That shit doesn't matter if men are unemployed and underemployed. It doesn't matter. And that's across the board. That's across the racial spectrum. I don't know what you don't get about this. Black people are the canaries in the coal mine. We're no different than you. Take away the jobs, take away the economic opportunities, and white boys are going to end up doing the exact same fucking thing. White crime is going to go up. White drug use is going to go up. White suicide rates are going to go up. Single motherhood is going to go up, right? The number of young men, that are unemployed and underemployed are going to go up. The number of young men that are still living with their parents is going to go up. Like, and again, I mean, at this point, we can say the exact same thing to the white community. When you all, when you want to cry and bitch about the black community, I can look at you and be like, personal responsibility. Why are y'all deleting yourselves? Clearly you lack personal responsibility. I guess you can't cut it because you're too weak. That's why you delete yourself. Right? But see, I know that there's reasons why, why you all have a problem. There's reasons why your birth rates are on the floor. I could be an asshole about it, like you're being an asshole when it comes to the black people's plight, but I'm smarter than that. And I'm like, nah, these motherfuckers, they ain't paying nobody. They're not paying these young men enough to support families. I don't care what your favorite color is. They're just simply not. And you got women hopping on the microphone and on the street talking about, how much money do you expect a man to make in order to date you? He needs to make $300,000. You know what I mean? Like, they're just way out there. Do you know what is the average annual income for most Americans? I don't know, 6 figures. Like they just start in six. Everybody's making 6 figures. Let them tell it. They don't have a goddamn clue. They don't have a damn clue what it actually takes for a man to support a family. But I mean, it's like y'all got so much racist bullshit in your head. I mean, absolutely, you will not, extend the same courtesy to us. I mean, I guess that's what racism is. Racism is literally, it's like everything that applies to you has a reason, a justification, an excuse, but everything that applies to especially black people, it does not. Right? And it's like that joke, when it comes to paying people. It's like, I pay black people the same amount of money as I pay myself. 1 for you, 1 for me. 2 for you, 1, 2 for me. 3 for you, 1, 2, 3 for me. Like that's literally white people. And then white people expect black people to do the same with to be able to do the same with literally a fraction of the money that they spend. So black people should be able to do what white people can do, what it requires $100 for white people to do with $10. Black people should be able to do it with $10. Like, I'm like, yo, the math ain't mathing. Everything that's nice costs money. Everything that's nice costs money. People talk about, black people, their neighborhoods are fucked because they don't have money. They don't have the resources. Communities have to be maintained. Hell, just to maintain it costs money. It's like you got, people with, you go in the black community, you see people that their Venetian blinds are broke and they got 3 generations of shit on their porch. Of course they do, because they don't have resources. And when you go into white communities that don't have resources, you know what I mean? What do you see? You see 3 generations of shit on the front porch. So, it's like, and it was so funny is black people are always accused of being flashy when they have money. So the idea that black people just operate in dust is the dumbest thing ever. Actually, black people like nice shit more than white people like nice shit. The part of our problem with our spending habits when it comes to frivolous shit is because of the inferiority complex that white supremacy has established. I mean, go talk to some white girl that dates black guys. She'll tell you black guys are cleaner than white guys. She'll tell you point blank. Black guys smell better than white guys. Black guys, freaking their skin is they take better skin care. They have their skincare regimen is better than white guys. And a lot of that comes from whether it's the clothes, fresh white tees, fresh Air Force Ones. A lot of that comes from, the idea, black people, they're dirty. They're dirty. White people have been running around screaming black people are dirty since forever. Black people are like, God damn it, I may be poor, but motherfucker, I'm going to be clean and I'm going to motherfucking smell good. Fuck out of here. To the point that, y'all white boys be running around smelling musty and dusty all over the fucking place. Everybody knows it. People mention and talking about how white people smell like wet dogs all the time. You see, but again, I'm not going to sit there and be like, black people, a racist thing will say, black people, we're just like that. You know what I mean? And I'm saying maybe we were. right? Maybe in Africa, we were. I don't know. You know what I mean? But I know that y'all wasn't bathing in Europe. You know what I mean? But by the same token, I know that the extra shit that we do is a result of the system of white supremacy. You see? But the point that I'm making is when black people have money to spend, you see them, the cars got to be clean, the shit got to be waxed, they got the rims on it. Black people like nice shit. So when black people are being judged by their lack of resources or their dustiness, that doesn't even make any sense, because if they had the resources, all the shit that you see would be cleaned up. When they actually have the resources, black people get money, first thing they want is some nice shit or some new shit. Point blank, period. People talk about how come black people move into white communities. Of course they move into white. Where else is there to fucking move? Where else are the developments popping up? Right? The only reason those communities are white is because white people have the resources. Even though I like how Tariq made his joke, well, if black people are moving there, then clearly it's not a white community. I got his point, but no, seriously speaking, the racism is built into the real estate, because the value of communities is literally based on how white the community is, how exclusively white the community is. And I don't know how you fix that, right? Like, I don't know, like, black people would love to just be in environments where it's just black people. But the problem that we have is, again, access to resources, access to capital. Oh, we can make a community look hellified. We can make a community look just as kick-ass as the white community. The problem is access to capital and access to resources. Those people cannot, take the even if they have any disposable income, the little bit of disposable income that they have, their emergency fund, and then go and fix the porch or fix the shutters or fix the blinds or, repaint the house and get the mildew off of the side of the house or whatever, and get somebody to, power wash, the front stoop or whatever, all these sorts of things. All that costs money. But white people, I mean, the sad part is white people are victims of their own white supremacy. Like, they really believe in their own hype. They really believe in the shit. Like, they have all the advantages, right? The system is built for them, right? And yet they're still insecure as fuck, right? They still seemingly don't seem to know how to originate anything. They gotta, beat, bite, and copy, from black people. Why are you copying from us? Why are you taking from us? Go over there and do your thing. Like, I remember I was making a joke with Cap, because, he, obviously he worked in the auto industry, and, think about why rims on cars got bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, it's pretty much standard when you get a luxury car that car has 20-inch rims, right? It's like the wheels just keep getting bigger. Why did the wheels get bigger? Because what was the first thing that black people did in the 90s when they got a car? They put fucking rims on the car. And it was crazy is the white people will sit there and, oh, that's so ghetto, niggas spending money on cars. But yet now the manufacturers come out with vehicles with low profile tires and 20-inch rims. It's the same thing I said. Black guys that got a car show, candy paint, freaking they got the M&M logo on the side of the car, right? Oh, that's ghetto. That's ghetto. Look at these niggas. Maybe if they weren't hooking up their cars, maybe they'd have some money and wouldn't be on welfare, blah, blah, blah. Right? Talk all this bullshit, right? White dudes, motherfuckers got a fucking flame coming out the damn tailpipe. The engine is sticking out of the hood. He's got a painted flame on the side of the car. Oh, now it's a car show. It's not ghetto. It's a car show, right? Remember the freaking, I mean, North Carolina, they did this shit with the they got a band these. What are them trucks called? What are they called? They're like pickup trucks, and they I don't, what are they called? I forget what they're called, but they like drop the back of the truck so like the front of the truck is up in the air, but the back part is down on the ground, and it's white guys that are doing that shit. Same thing with the trucks that freaking were I call them like the Duke Nukem trucks, where they had the smog come out of the back of the truck just to see how much smog they could create. Like, the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? But, that's just good old white American white boy shit. But when black people, we get creative, we go and do some, ghetto. Again, the instant devaluing of anything and everything that we do. So, I mean, white people, I wonder sometimes, like, when I talk about, the Blackamoors and the Moors and the knowledge that they brought into Europe, and how long they ruled and who was ruling. People saying, oh, the Arabs were running things, and I get that, I hear that, but the thing is why do they paint all the pictures of the people that you see black? Why don't they paint Arabs? How come you don't see Arabs in these paintings? You just see black people, right? When they talk about Saint Maurice or even what's the other one, Saint George. You know what I mean? That they're showing the older pictures that you go back to. He's black. They whiteified him. Again, like I said, when 1492 came around, like, white people were like, execute order 66. You know what I mean? I mean, literally, they were like, we're gonna change everything and flip everything to justify slavery. We're gonna dehumanize the people that gave us knowledge and gave us wisdom. And again, we don't know what was truly going down, during that period. But white people seem to have when it comes to us, they got a real crazy fear, like a real crazy fear of the potential of black people that goes beyond any other group. It goes beyond any other group. And I wonder why that specifically is. It's like what Dr. Hendrik Clark said. It's like things that are truly inferior don't need further assistance. You're right. You don't need to put up barriers and barricades and deny people access to X, Y, and Z, right? They'll just naturally fall to the bottom. But when it comes to black people, it's like white people gotta constantly retool, and they gotta constantly put up the barriers and everything. Even when it comes to the idea of stealing their bitch. They don't have any fear of Asians or Indians, right? Coming through, Hispanic guys. They don't have no fear of these guys stealing their women. But when it comes to a black guy, and I've experienced myself, you walk in a room, say I got some basic straight up and down white chick, you're not even interested in her, and the guy's like, feeling some type of way. He's clutching his girl, pulling her closer. Like, dude, I don't want your girl. Calm down, Ebenezer. Chill out. Nobody wants your girl. She's basic any goddamn way. Oh, you stay away from her, nigger. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, they don't do that with Asian dudes. They don't do that with Indian dudes. You know what I mean? They're like, no, man, fuck that. Rajesh is going to steal my bitch. I never heard that. Jasmine is going to steal my girl. Fuck that. I've never heard that. It's always when it comes to us, they're worried. And then there's like, again, you got the homoerotic shit, and then all the stuff with the getting cuckold and shit. Get the Asian guy to cuckold your wife. No, I want a big black man to cuckold my wife. It's like, I mean, literally, there's whole sections of the freaking porn internet industry that is literally black guys banging some white dude's wife, and the white dude sitting in a chair jacking off to it. Like, I don't know what is with y'all, with that shit. Y'all got a lot of goofy shit. Is it like the overpowering, like, he's fucking my wife, but, he can't have her, like, y'all got weird shit going on if I really want to dive into it. Oh, y'all hate interracial dating. Oh, we hate to see a black man with a white woman. There isn't enough black men watching interracial porn in order to make interracial porn, which is almost exclusively a black man and a white woman, to make it economically viable. Who's watching that shit? Y'all be watching that shit. And again, that only further exacerbates, the fear, going back to the article that, Gail Dines wrote, called King Kong and the White Woman. Go read that article if it's still up on the internet. She lays that shit out, talks about that in Hustler magazine, where there's always this, she actually brought up from a class standpoint, which goes into divide and conquer, where the white elites get economically fragile working class white men who feel financially insecure, and then get them to feel embarrassed by the idea of a black man taking their woman, which makes sure that they don't get another Bacon's Rebellion on their hand, where you end up with working class white men recognizing the commonality of interest that they have with working class black men and coming together and forming Voltron against the white elites. They don't want that to happen. So what you do is you make the black man always look like a sexual threat. You always make the black man look like a sexual threat. Same thing with, the whole thing with King Kong, because everybody forgets that in that 1933 movie, the King Kong, they had again, we all know about black people being labeled as monkeys and all that other shit. And what they do, or what they did in that movie, was they have a voyeur scene where King Kong has this perverted obsession with the white woman, where he's like peeking through the window while she's getting undressed, or and that's supposed to represent a lustful black man. Same bullshit that they did in The Birth of a Nation. They've been playing that black man as a sexual threat to white men nonstop. And again, if every black man in America got with a white woman, you know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't even make a dent. Black men are only 7% of the U.S. population. And again, as I pointed out earlier, only 43% of white men are even procreating with white women. And only 4.7% of white women are actually producing children. Which leaves, what would that be? 57, what was it? What did I say? 54.7, so 55. So 45% of white women don't reproduce with anybody. So you could have 7%, all 100% of black men get with white women, and it wouldn't make a dent in white people's population numbers. But again, let the world tell it, let the media tell it. The biggest threat to white men, and white male existence is black man being with a white woman. Again, you look at the numbers, you start realizing how nonsensical and stupid this shit is. And I'd argue that, it's all a tool of, the white elites, because the biggest suckers in all of this are the white working class males. They're the biggest suckers in this shit. We black people have been ringing the alarm. Some of y'all need to go back and listen to Stokely Carmichael. Seriously speaking, you need to go back and you need to listen to Stokely Carmichael, because he's made many of these points. He's made points about the military-industrial complex. He's made points about, the freaking, the classism that goes on. That video that I can't find it. It was on YouTube for a long time, but it was Stokely Carmichael for the communist workers. I think it's the Communist Auto Workers Party. And I know white men get triggered and turned off by the word communist, but the points that he's making in that video, it's like, nah. He's like, man, they're kicking. What did he say in the video? He was like, they're kicking white dudes' asses, 10 times as much as they were kicking their ass a couple of years ago. Meaning that they're working them harder, but they're not compensating them. And he's like, look, I'm not saying I want white men to go and be, be somehow beneath the black man or something like that. He's like, no, I'm just saying I don't want black men getting the shittiest and most dangerous jobs and be underpaid, be the ones in the plant, that are, getting screwed over. But you always got the white dudes that are these working class white men. Y'all are like, Y'all are like Steven and Django, man. Y'all are the ultimate Uncle Toms. I mean, the way you cape, the way for the white elite, and you think that they're your buddies. And I mean, they have done a masterful job of thinking that, of getting you to think that they actually fuck with you. I mean, the chef's kiss when it comes to the propaganda to get you to think that they give a fuck about who you are with those damn Harbor Freight freaking rubber the gloves that you dip into that get the rubber on the fingers. You guys that wear those gloves, you guys think that they give a fuck about. They don't give a fuck about you. Again, they didn't want to pay you during the Gilded Age. They don't want to pay you now. They ain't never want to pay you. And going back to the serfs, in Europe, that was your role. If this was the movie from 2000, the time machine, the Morlock would be sitting right up there and he would be looking at your ass saying, that's their role here. That's your role. And instead of focusing on the white elites, you all are running around bitching about black people breathing up all the white man's air. They got you so goddamn distracted and hyper focused on us. You know what I mean? To the point where anytime, you talk about us being dusty and not having this and not having that, and the black community is broken and they this, that, you're so focused on us that anytime that we have the slightest marginal amount of success, you all lose your shit. You feel like you're losing ground. You know what I mean? Again, which is like no different than white feminists. Because white feminists will sit there, and we need women's empowerment and we need feminism. Okay, fine. Here, ladies, now you're making six figures. And then they come back 5 minutes later. Oh, what's the problem? I'm not dating up. What do you want now? I want to be able to date hypergamously. Okay, fine. Here's a guy making $200,000. Now you can date up. Do you feel good? And then everything's good for like a week, and then she comes back. Oh, what's the problem? This isn't a relationship of equality. How come I'm not making $200,000? Oh my God! And that's literally the way that you all act. Because you'll sit there and you'll say, black people, personal responsibility, they need to do for self. As soon as black people do for self, then you're running around, reverse racism. Black people, how come black people do it? See, what they really want is they want the black man to have his knee on the white man's neck. It's reverse racism. I'm like, oh my God. You just got finished saying that the problem is black people are on welfare, they ain't got no jobs, they dusty, they commit all the crime. And then as soon as black people, we even discuss organizing for the empowerment of black people so that black people are not being leeches off of the white man's system and shit, then y'all get to bitching. Again, bitching so much that when you see black people doing better than you, what do? You gotta go in there and you gotta burn it down to the ground. You can't have it both ways, right? Either, and see, the thing is what I find funny, just to go back to highlight just how much white Americans only give a fuck about black people. Notice how comfortable they are shitting on black people by telling you that Asian Americans have the highest, net worth, right? They love Asians. I mean, they're just smart and they have high net worth and whatnot. And same thing with the Mexicans. Mexicans are hardworking until we get to talking about, the fucking border crisis. And Asians they have the highest net worth until we get to talking about SARS and freaking COVID and shit like that. Then all the racist shit comes out, right? But I'm saying, could you imagine a world where black people were at the top of that chart in terms of net worth, right? And of family household income? Could you imagine the fucking gaskets that would blow in white men's heads? They would think that there's something wrong with the world because black people are supposed to be at the bottom. They're not supposed to be up there. I'm like, wow, Asians are a minority. Why are you comfortable with Asians? The only time they're comfortable with Asians being ahead of them is when they're comparing them to black people. to be like, oh, see, black people, why can't you be like them? If black people were like them, you'd be burning down our communities once again. What are you talking about? And again, I think a lot of it goes back to the fact, and the number one reason, in my opinion, the number one reason, and this goes back to Dr. Cresswell-Sing and her whole concepts about white genetic annihilation. The insecurity that revolves around specifically black men being successful is they already feel that black men are a sexual threat. Hell, some white men, there's so many jokes about black men and how quickly we develop muscle when we're 17 and decide to start working out. It's like they literally think that black men are genetically superior. They always talk about their superiority, but when you really look at the landscape, it's like they literally think that we are physically, genetically superior. Then they try to go into some IQ shit, right? So, but the thing is right, if you really look at it, right, IQs arguably would like a definer of IQ would be how successful you are in this system. Right? If you're making money, then obviously you're doing something right? Like that's just like the basic, benchmark, right? You're doing something right. And they can't handle that because it's not a meritocracy, and we know it's not a meritocracy. But you go with the idea of black men being physically, genetically superior, and then you roll that into the black men having the net worth that Asian Americans have. Man, white men would think that the world was coming to an end. Because Asian men can make all the money that they want. They don't see Asian men as a sexual threat. They're not worried about Becky going, Brad, I'm leaving you. I'm going to go and get with these Asians because these Asians have the highest net worth in America. They're not worried about that. But they worried about that black NBA player. Oh, yeah. They worried about that black rapper. Oh, yeah. They worried about that black man that just so happens to fall through the cracks and, is either a black doctor, black lawyer, or a black executive. They worried about that guy. You see, they're like, oh, no. Good genes, stays youthful for longer, muscles, swag, game, and solid finances? Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. Oh, no, they can't handle that shit. No. No, we can't have that. They're not allowed to have muscles, height, big dicks, and swag. No, they can't have, and money? Absolutely not. They must remain at the bottom. They must remain at the bottom, because otherwise our precious white women will leave us. It's like, do y'all get this same sense that I get? You know what I mean? Because this is the sense that I get. Because there's too much insecurity. There's too much. I'm like, it's your goddamn system, and especially for the working class white men, where again the capitalists, right, that don't really care or give a fuck about race. They just use people however they use people. Racism and all that shit is just a means to an end. Okay, fine. If that'll get us there, do it. We don't care. We're here to make money. We want our wealth to keep on going, and then once our wealth gets tapped out, we want power. Because we're fucking psychotic megalomaniacs like that. Right? So they don't give a fuck. But it's always the working class white men. They're like, in my experience, the working class white guys, they're the most racist. Like the white guys that feel the sting of financial insecurity, they're always talking about race and IQs and immigrants coming and their culture being evaporated and all. They're always obsessed with that. White guys that got money, white guys that are good, they don't give a fuck about that shit. They're just like, well, whatever. We need to create a melting pot so that we can exploit even more people. Right? That's why, even though when it comes to like traditionalism, marriage, patriarchy, all that stuff, the white elites didn't give a fuck about that when they introduced feminism. They were like, no, please. What do you mean? We can't, this is 50% of the population that we can't even tax. We can't even extract money from. We can't give them credit cards. We can't exploit. Do you know how 50% of the population, we need to get them into student loan debt and let them go to school for humanities and shit. We need to end the patriarchy and end sexism against women. Yes, give me a white bitch. Gloria Steinem, come here. Yes, you. We need to put this out here. Put billions behind this woman. Billions. And make it happen. Yes, but sir, what about the low birth rates that will inevitably happen as a result of this? Because women typically want to date hypergamously, and if they're working and they're making silence, we will deal with that when we get to that road. But until then, it's money, 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 money. And that's exactly what they did. And now we're here. Low birth rates, shit economy, right? Boomers are like, laughing it up, on their way to the retirement home, right? So, the only saving grace now is whenever the boomers die, this wealth transfer that's supposed to happen, and who knows what that's going to look like. But in any event, I think I've ranted enough. So let me end this video. That's my video. SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.